The Brzezzi family in Brooklyn has become a weekly ritual. An assembly line on the kitchen table, dividing up pills and supplements for 14-year-old Julia.
I take 70 pills a day.
70 pills a day. She takes 70 pills per day. That is insane. She's 14 and she's taking 70 pills a day. That's terrifying. Very scary. I can't believe that's a real thing.
It's necessary, her doctor says, because Lyme disease and infections caused by it are ravaging her body.
Oh my God, she's in a wheelchair.
So bad, she's unable to walk.
She can't walk. From Lyme disease and all the other co-infections, she has infections so bad that her legs went numb and she cannot walk. And she has to take 70 pills a day at 14 years old. I've never heard of such a thing, and this is absolutely insane.
People call us crazy, and people call me crazy.
Julia's nightmare began.
She said people call her crazy, which we've seen before, especially with Avril Lavigne, Justin Bieber, just to name a few famous people, but it happens all the time to regular people. They don't know what's wrong with them, and the doctor's like, oh, it must be psychological, there must be something wrong with you, it must be something that you're thinking or doing, and maybe you're just depressed, and they make you feel like you're absolutely insane because you think you have Lyme disease.
And 2 years ago, seemingly out of nowhere.
I was a dancer, a sports player.
Oh, this is sad.
Active.
She was active.
And then, suddenly in like a second, my life just changed.
In class one day, her legs went numb, followed by fevers.
Oh my God,
joint
imagine
pain.
You're in high school, you're in a class when you're 14 years old, the kids are already mean enough, and all of a sudden your legs don't work while you're in school. What would you do? You're just like, guys, my legs aren't working. Then all of a sudden the whole school's talking about you. I mean, it's hard enough to just be in high school without these types of health issues, but imagine how she feels in this situation. Now that her life is on the line, she may never walk again. She has to take 70 pills a day, all from simple Lyme disease, where they usually just give you antibiotics and tell you to shut up and go home and take the antibiotics. She actually is being affected in a huge way, beyond anything that antibiotics can fix, beyond anything that doctors can probably help.
And hair loss.
I must have brought Julia to at least 60, 70 different specialists and doctors.
From the 60 or 70 different doctors, 60 or 70 different specialists.
From the looks of her, she was losing her life.
Lyme disease was suspected since Julia once had a bullseye rash, often a red flag. But doctors had dismissed it then, and now blood tests were negative. There was no explanation for her condition.
They're saying blood tests were negative, so there's no explanation. Yeah, the blood tests have been shown to have like a 40 to 50% variance with false negatives. So, basically it's a flip of a coin to see if you have Lyme disease or not, if it's only 50% correct, right? So obviously they're ineffective tests, and the tests are basically useless if you don't have the rash, which is dumb. Like, she had the rash, right? The rash probably went away, and then they're like, well, Lyme disease is gone, but she's still having all these crazy symptoms, so it confused them. Then they start testing for it as if that's going to solve anything. But that doesn't make any sense because the tests don't work well, first of all. Second of all, you already know she had Lyme disease. Why couldn't these things be caused by chronic Lyme disease or by persisting Lyme disease? They can, but the doctors choose to not believe that that's true because the CDC says that chronic Lyme disease isn't a real thing. They look more towards post-treatment Lyme syndrome, which they probably annulled for cases like this so that they can say, like, we were right all along, chronic Lyme disease doesn't exist, but you can have symptoms post-antibiotics.
These doctors were calling it psychological. They were saying she was faking it.
They tried to convince me that I was making it up.
I realized that the only shot that Julia had was me.
Convinced that Julia had chronic Lyme.
As a father, if I had all these doctors telling me I was wrong and telling us that we were crazy and telling us it must be psychological and that they're faking it, and then the dad had to say, well, I guess I just have to take matters into my own hands. That's terrifying. I have 2 kids, and if that ever happened to me, that's just a really scary thought, to think that the doctors or other people aren't willing to help them when they went to school to help people. And now, now they're not able to help, so I have to take it into my own hands. And I mean, how much time, money, and energy is this guy spending just to keep his daughter relatively healthy, just to keep her like moving in some type of direction towards a normal life? And it's just sad situation.
Father decided to fight back, only to find himself right in the middle of a mind-boggling medical war. On one side, doctors like Horowitz, who believe in chronic Lyme. And
now they're just getting into the sensationalism behind the Lyme Wars, which is funny. It's why I named my website LymeDiseaseWars.com. I created products called Lyme Wars. It all stems back to Stephen Booner's book, Healing Lyme. I actually have it right here. I always have it pretty close by because it's such a great book, has so much information in it. But he talks about Lyme Wars and how there's a difference between the people that say chronic Lyme disease doesn't exist and people that say chronic Lyme disease does exist. Here's 1,000 cases of it, and they're not saying that it's frequent or that it happens all the time, but it does happen in a small percentage of people, actually close to 20% of people. So I think it goes to show like how divided the medical system is in terms of like natural holistic thinking versus reductionist thinking, and then also in terms of chronic Lyme disease doesn't exist, chronic Lyme disease does exist, and it just goes back and forth, and there's no winner in that situation. There has to be some type of middle ground that we all realize exists where, yeah, some people are going to have chronic Lyme disease and it's going to affect them past the treatment, and other people won't.
I was going to stay like that forever. I was just going to die.
But in her darkest hour, when her treatment wasn't blessed by the medical powers, Julia says a higher one came to her rescue. Invited to meet Pope Francis during his trip to New York in 2015. She says this moment, aired live on News 4, changed everything.
He's gonna give me a miracle.
So she went to go see the Pope, which it can be powerful for people that are ill to have some type of faith, something bigger than themselves to look forward to. It can help in a big, big way. Let's watch another video.
My name is John Nicholson. So when I was in middle school, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease with some co-infections, and I had to take a lot of medicine for it. And I went through this period of, depression, being in pain, not wanting to get out of bed. It takes the life out of you.
Yeah, absolutely. That pretty much sums it up. Depression, being in pain, it takes the life out of you. That happens to almost everyone that has a serious case of Lyme disease. That's what it was like for myself. That's what it was like for all of my clients. That's what it was like for pretty much everyone that I speak to that had Lyme disease.
And, I was a churchgoer, grew up in the church. I believed in healing, but then, there was a moment in my life after high school that, I started digging into scripture, and I realized that, Jesus can heal and will heal. And there was a change in my belief about healing. There was a change in my theology. There was a change in my spiritual life, because I wasn't just a churchgoer anymore. I was reading the Word. I was diving into it, and I'd spend hours in the book, and I'd be reading and reading and reading, and so much so where I gained confidence and was encouraged, and so I started praying for other people. There was a belief change, a mindset change of, believing God can heal someone to believing God will heal someone. There was two significant things that happened for me. My diet changed. I was eating like only healthy foods. And then also I started, actually believing the book. And so from that point, there was that shift of believing God can heal me and believing God will heal me and believing God is healing me. And so there was that change of actually believing that Christ in me is stronger, and that so much so that he's strong enough to actually affect my flesh, my body. When that happened, I wasn't dealing with Lyme disease anymore,
Okay, so basically he's talking about the power of healing through faith and through God. And, whether you believe in Christianity or not, or if you believe in God or not, the idea that believing that you will be healed is actually the most powerful part of this. Okay, whether or not it's coming from God, you could, that's why placebo sometimes work. The placebo effect is when you're taking something like a sugar pill and it ends up healing your body because you believe in your mind that it's going to heal you. Okay, so that is why faith can play such a big part in the healing process, and growing and thinking about, some people call it the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. If you believe that you will be healed, that there is a bigger picture at play, that your life is fully touchable, changeable by a bigger picture, that all you have to do is will it to be, that all you have to do is believe that you will be healed and feel healed first, and then healing will come. If you believe those things and you do those things, it's been proven by science that actually works, okay? I'm not talking about religion, I'm not talking about Christianity or Jehovah's Witness or Jewish faith or any religion at all. I don't have a horse in that race. I don't necessarily care if you believe in religion or not. And I've heard both sides of the story of religion, but I know that faith itself, the idea that there is something to live for, that there is someone that has your back, that there's a bigger picture in play, that you can heal the body, and believing that your body is being healed, whether it's by you or by outside sources, actually has been proven with facts and science to heal the body. Okay? And so that is what this man here is experiencing, and he ends up healing from Lyme disease just through his faith and his just persistence and faith in God alone, and in the fact that God will heal him from Lyme disease. So very powerful stuff. If you're trying to heal, perhaps start thinking about God, the universe, maybe the bigger picture, or just your meaning, your purpose in life, or just start thinking, I will be healed, because maybe you say, Mother Nature has my back. Mother Nature is going to heal me through the different herbs and useful plants that I can use in order to heal the body. So start thinking about those things. If you're trying to heal, it can make all the difference. One more video. Let's see Daryl's story.
Experience it, being out in nature and enjoying what's real. It's the sounds, the smells, the animals, the birds especially. Well, my name is Daryl Jensen, and I've lived in Wisconsin all of my life. I've always enjoyed the out of doors. 30 years ago, I was turkey hunting in Iowa County.
Guy's got his pants tucked into his socks. I know it looks goofy, but you could tell he is concerned about getting bitten by ticks. So, if you didn't know that, you can tuck your pants into your socks so that there's no skin showing, there's no way for a tick to get up your pant leg. That can be helpful in the prevention against Lyme disease.
And this was before Lyme disease was discussed in the media, and so I wasn't really taking any precautions. I chose an area to hunt along a deer trail, and I covered myself with some
hunting along a deer trail.
Sure, the time I spent sitting there.
The deer ticks love deer trails.
That's how I got the tick bite. The deer tick is so tiny. You have to be looking very closely, very carefully to find it. And then sometimes you might not see it until it's already dug in and then started the process. But it did feel unusual, like a mild body flu. And it was enough to make me go to the doctor.
He said like a mild body flu. For me, it was like an aggressive body flu, like more aggressive than the flu. I was visibly shaking with the chills. Everything hurt. I had a pounding headache. It was much worse than the flu for me. So that's interesting that he says it was mild.
I had the bullseye rash, and I was very lucky for that. And then they put me on doxycycline for 2 weeks, and that knocked it right out because they were able to catch it so quickly. Then about 10 years ago, I got it again, this time in my own backyard. So it goes to show, no matter where you are, then there's a chance that there's going to be deer ticks, and so you have to be careful.
Yep. So he got it in his own backyard. You can get it anywhere where there's deer ticks, and there's deer ticks pretty much everywhere where there's woods or plants. So that's quite a large area, especially if, you know, like me, I live in northeastern Pennsylvania. There's woods everywhere, so I could get it in my backyard. I could get it in my parents' backyard. I could get it when I go for a hike. I can get it pretty much any time that I'm outside. And they're just going over some basic prevention cases, using tick repellent, tucking your pants into your socks, as well as just making sure your skin is covered. And then always check yourself when you come in from the outdoors, because you know, those ticks are so tiny. You need to look very carefully and very closely in order to find them. If you don't look, you may never find it, and it may be too late. It takes about 36 hours of feeding before the Borrelia burgdorferi microbe is fully within the bloodstream and wreaking havoc on the body. So if you catch it before that, you might be in luck. You could also take antibiotics just as a precaution if that happens. But those are just some prevention tips, and I hope this video inspires you or helps you out in some type of way. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here to the channel. Would love to have you. We're constantly making videos about Lyme disease, and we really just want to make sure that people can heal themselves and that people are less scared about their health, because a lot of people are scared for their health right now. So with that, I'll leave you to it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.